Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really fascinating, I think. We're going beyond just the physical side of things, especially with medications like semaglutide, to look at hunger in a, well, maybe a surprising way. Our mission, really, is to unpack what happens when that constant background noise, the cravings, when it suddenly goes quiet, and what kind of deeper questions about ourselves start to surface then. It's not just about the drug or even just weight loss. It's about this unique space, this kind of quiet window for self-discovery.
Exactly. And for this discussion, we're drawing on some really compelling stuff. We've got excerpts from something called Field Notes from the Quiet Window, and also some really valuable insights from expert Dan Hollis. He provides a powerful way to think about emotional hunger.
Okay, let's start there then. Emotional hunger. Because, we usually think of hunger as like a stomach rumble, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe low blood sugar, that physical feeling. But it seems there's this whole other layer to it.
That's exactly what Dan Hollis helps us understand. He puts it really well, I think. He says, emotional hunger sounds like a craving, but it's actually a question, a need asking to be seen.
A need asking to be seen. That's powerful. It makes you think, doesn't it? How often we might reach for food when what we're really feeling is something else entirely, maybe tiredness or loneliness or just feeling totally overwhelmed,
Right.
and the food becomes a stand-in for maybe connection or comfort or just clarity.
Absolutely. Our sources really highlight how tangled up our relationship with food can get. Loneliness, boredom, stress, anxiety, even big joys sometimes. They can all get channeled into how and why we eat. Food becomes the easy, sort of available answer.
Which brings us to semaglutide. Most people know it as Ozempic or Wegovy. It started out as a treatment for type 2 diabetes, a GLP-1 agonist, but then its effect on weight loss became really clear.
Yeah, and what's really key from the material we looked at is how Hollis frames it. Semaglutide isn't presented as, like, a magic bullet for emotional eating. Not at all. Instead, it creates this biological pause, or like he calls it a window. He actually says, semaglutide isn't the solution to emotional eating, it's the silence that lets you find one.
The silence that lets you find one. How does it create that silence, biologically speaking?
Well, in simple terms, it mimics a natural hormone from your gut. This tells your brain you're full, slows down how quickly your stomach empties, and basically turns up the volume on your body's I'm satisfied signals. So the usual biological drive to eat just quiets right down. That's the quietude we're talking about.
And that quietness can be really, really startling for people.
Yeah.
We see this with Kate's story. She's a 46-year-old mom, 3 kids. She started semaglutide. And the biggest shock for her wasn't the weight loss itself, although that was happening. It was the complete absence of cravings, like totally gone, even for her usual triggers, chips, bread, cake. She told Hollis, and this is striking, I walked past the pantry, and for the first time in 20 years, nothing reached back.
Imagine that.
Wow. Yeah, nothing reaching back. And that right there, according to Hollis, that is the quiet window. That moment when food just stops answering. And the real questions, the ones that maybe make us uncomfortable, they finally get a chance to speak up.
And for Kate, the feeling wasn't just relief, was it? It was complicated. She actually talked about the grief of losing the thing that numbed you.
Grief.
She didn't just miss the food, but the whole ritual, the signal, the rhythm, even the story she told herself, like, at least I know how to feel full. It left her feeling, as she put it, like a ghost in her own kitchen.
Or like the house was suddenly too quiet. She compared her brain to a library after hours. Because, and this is quite something, everything feels like truth now. That silence sounds almost loud in its own way.
Yeah.
What's typically the toughest part for people navigating that?
That's a really insightful question, because when food has been your go-to emotional support, your scaffolding,
Yeah.
when that's suddenly removed, you don't just feel physically lighter, you feel exposed. Hollis really nails this. When food stops being your emotional scaffolding, you don't just feel lighter, you feel exposed. And that feeling of exposure, well, it can be jarring, but Hollis argues it's not inherently bad. It's actually the starting point. That's where the real work, the inner work, can actually begin.
Okay, so you're exposed, the noise is gone. What then? That's where Dan Hollis's specific approach comes in, right? He's not about just giving pep talks.
No, not at all.
He offers this idea of scaffolding. What does that mean in practice?
It's about providing structure and tools, not just motivation. It's about building momentum for self-discovery, helping people recognize these patterns, and really encouraging curiosity about what's surfacing in that quiet space. His central idea really is that the medication basically clears the runway. It quiets the biological static so you can finally tune into what that deeper emotional hunger is trying to signal. You can finally see what's trying to land, so to speak.
And the questions he helps people explore are pretty profound. Things like, okay, what am I really hungry for when I'm not physically hungry? Who even am I without this constant chase for food or fullness?
Yeah.
What's actually left when all that noise disappears? These go way beyond diet, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And a key part of his method is helping people untangle what he calls signal confusion, teaching them to observe the craving, not obey it, to pause and try to decode what that urge really signifies. What's the need behind the desire for, say, chocolate cake?
And Kate's story shows this process unfolding, doesn't it? It wasn't some dramatic overnight change for her.
No, not usually.
It was these small but really significant shifts, like realizing she wasn't automatically reaching for snacks when she felt sad, or one evening choosing tea instead of pouring that second glass of wine almost on autopilot, or taking a walk on a Sunday. Not because she was counting calories, but because, as she said, it felt like a conversation with her future self. It really shows that healing this stuff takes more than just tracking macros or following a meal plan.
Exactly right. And this connects to a bigger theme in the source material: identity. Hollis suggests that emotional hunger is often tied to a kind of disconnection from ourselves. When we lose touch with who we are or who we want to be, food can step in as a sort of placeholder identity, or at least a reliable comfort. He has this great line: "You don't hold on to weight loss with discipline, you hold on to it with alignment." It's not about gritting your teeth and using willpower forever. It's about fundamentally changing the story, the underlying reasons why food became that emotional crutch.
That idea of alignment over discipline,
Yeah.
that really resonates. But I can imagine people thinking, but shouldn't I just be able to power through, just have more willpower? How does this framework kind of speak to that?
Yeah, that's a super common feeling, and it makes sense why we think that way. Hollis's approach doesn't exactly dismiss willpower, but it reframes it. It's less about the willpower to resist the craving and more about the willpower to listen, to have the discipline maybe to sit with that signal confusion, observe it, ask the deeper questions, instead of just clamping down on the desire or automatically giving in. So it shifts from this constant, exhausting battle of resistance towards a more sustainable, curious kind of inquiry. Does that make sense? It's about aligning with what you truly need.
It does, yeah. It shifts the focus entirely. So for anyone listening who might be experiencing this quietness, maybe because of these medications or through other means, to this sudden silence where the cravings used to be and maybe finding unexpected feelings coming up, you're really not alone in that. This is that quiet window we've been discussing.
hmm And the core message from Hollis and from these experiences seems to be that navigating the space, healing that emotional hunger, it requires empathy for yourself, not judgment. It needs awareness, not a stricter set of rules, and definitely curiosity rather than self-punishment.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. When the cravings stop, the truth begins. What truth perhaps is trying to emerge for you in that quiet space?